Town of Morristown Selectboard special meeting. It is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. So I'm going to call the special meeting to order. Agenda changes and additions. It may not say that on your sheet, but that's up first. And there is a change to the agenda. We're going to move community comments from Roman numeral 4 up to Roman numeral 3. So it's going to be right after agenda changes and additions where it's always been. So we'll do that first. And then the rest of the agenda will stay the same. Is there anything else to change, Judy? Okay. Okay, so with that said, let's do community comments. Does anybody have anything to comment on that is not on tonight's agenda? Okay, we have nothing in the room and nothing on Zoom. Okay, so I will move on to open the public hearing. So tonight we have a public hearing, which is for the Downtown Capital Improvement Plan, CIP. And we're here tonight to listen to public input that we might gather. It is important to note that this capital improvement plan is specific to the village, specific to that downtown area. It is not a town-wide conversation. We're here to do this tonight because we have a deadline on October 6th. We need to have this capital improvement plan signed by then to continue our we need to adopt it and have that done in order to continue our application for downtown designation. So again, as I said, we're here tonight to listen to what the public has to say. So I'd like to open that hearing at this point. And I guess I would just, first of all, for the record, I would like to thank the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has sent the Select Board a letter, and they've made 4 suggestions that they want us to consider in the future. And so I'd like to thank members of the Planning Commission for that. And we will take those into consideration at some future time. So having said all that, is there any comment regarding the capital improvement plan for downtown designation? Come on up.
Jerry Throne. Looking at the list of capital improvements, I don't know what, it's page 4 of 19. And it starts off with the title is Morristown Downtown Capital Improvement Plan. Mentions Morristown at least 2 more times, no, 3 more times. Anyway, it's 2 more times in the document. And so I thought this was supposed to be the Morrisville plan. So is that a typo?
I don't think it's a typo. The fact that the Select Board is considering this, it would be a Morristown document. I thought you were going to say that maybe Morrisville is planted in here at different points, but my guess is that it's a downtown capital improvement plan for the town, but it is only, I mean, as you well know, the town encompasses, it's not just the town, but it encompasses the village as well. So what we're doing is looking for downtown designation. We're looking for an improvement plan, which is in the town, but it also happens to be in the village. So I believe town is the right terminology here. I'm looking at Adele right now. Adele, do you have a thought on this?
Because Morristown is actually buying, it is relevant to have that in there, but if there's a situation where it's specifically speaking about within the downtown designation area, that is Morrisville, and we can make that edit and change if needed. And it doesn't require any further, it's just correction.
Okay, I just thought that since you were submitting this to, various agencies for making applications, that it would want to be clear. And so that's why I brought it up. According to what I read in 4430B, these items are supposed to be arranged to indicate order of priority. I don't know if they were or if they are, but when you look at the second item, which is the Coffley lot tree planting, if that is the second highest priority, so be it. But the Planning Commission letter that you referred to, dated 9/23/25, requested to add 4 items. Item 2 of which is for considering of above or below ground parking and for authorizing studies for that. Now, my question is, should the tree planting be held at a lower priority for that reason?
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, I'm just going to state that at this point, these are the projects that we've come up with. This is what we're going to put into the capital improvement plan to fulfill the application. And certainly at a future date, we'll consider what the Planning Commission has given us as, 4 additional projects. I think I see what you're getting at. If we're going to build a parking garage and we're going to have tree plantings in the same area, that's something that is going to need to be considered.
Can I speak to?
Yeah.
So one thing to consider is the Copley lot is out of zoning. It's technically not, it's against zoning. And the trees are part of that. So there's been, the businesses and stuff, there's a lot of concern about that. So that's probably why, because it's illegal. Our own town has a parking lot that's not in zoning, not based on zoning. So we need to get that up to code, basically. The underground, having been part of talking it, that's a multi-million-dollar, and that's like 10, 15 years out. So the trees have to come because businesses, we don't want lawsuits from the businesses because the trees are supposed to be there, and the way that lot is done is not in with our zoning. So how are we to maintain zoning bylaws if we're not honoring it? Those big yellow things are not.
Thank you, Laura. Any other public input in regards to the community improvement plan? Come on up.
Evelyn Throne, Marshall. A couple questions, or thoughts. To have a historic commission for the town that would help guide some of the development that goes on here, i.e. colors, and the looks of the buildings and stuff. I think that might help. We are going to do some infilling. So I would encourage, I'm sure Mac is thinking about it, but there's also the question of, they talked about buying Christmas lights for, the poles. That's absolutely wonderful. Another thing I would hope that could be funded, looked into, is some kind of a identity for the town, like Morrisville, blah, like in our house, it would have been, in our area, it would have been Gateway to the Poconos or something, something that would, or a couple things that are important about Morristown, and have some flags that are put around maybe a couple different times of the year on the light poles, that the flakes take care of the winter. But, and there was something else, but thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Any other comments? Jerry, leave her alone. Any other comments? Okay. Well, thank you for that. We'll certainly take those into consideration as well. So I would entertain a motion to approve the capital improvement plan.
I'll move to adopt the fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2031 Morrisville Downtown Capital Improvement Plan.
Second.
So I have a motion by Richard and a second by Laura. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the capital improvement plan, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Okay, I need a motion to close the hearing as well. Is that correct, Judy? Okay,
I'll move to close the public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So motion by Richard, second by Laura. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
And that would be unanimous as well. Okay, thank you very much. So we are now at the interviews. The interviews are to fill the vacancy on the select board. And we are a little ahead of schedule. And I don't see one of our interviewees. So if he does arrive before 6 o'clock, we can begin before 6 o'clock. Okay.
Well, I would just say I don't think we should because people will be tuning in. And because it's, just because it's listed at 6, I don't think we should start early. Sorry.
Wait till 6.
Unfortunately, I think, yeah, because if somebody joins in, they would miss the first interview. I'm sorry.
I mean, if Charlie's here 10 minutes early, we wait 10 minutes. I tend to agree with Laura. Yes, 6 is 6.
Okay.
That's what's been published. That's what we've told the interviewees to come at those times. That could affect our third candidate if we start everything early and she comes on time and appears to be late, but she's not.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably hold.
Okay, we will recess until 6 o'clock. At that time, we will take approximately 30 minutes to interview Charlie Burnham. And then you can see Leah Hollenberger and Hannah Chauvin are scheduled at 6:30 and 7 o'clock. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to relax.
Go get an ice cream.
Okay, that's right.
You have a gluten-free phone with cashew milk ice cream, raising that body, following up.
I'm sorry, Ellen. That one I can't help you with.
Okay. That's.
We are.
Did we? We did. We already did. Okay.
Okay, so thank you, folks. We're going to come back at a recess. It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. So I'm going to continue with the agenda. So up next are interviews. The select board is going to interview 3 applicants, 3 candidates for the select board for the empty seat that we have. And the 3 candidates are in the room, and I'm going to ask, we're going to interview the candidates in the order of the applications as they came in. So Judy kept track of that. And so we're going to interview Charles Burnham first. We're going to interview Leah Hollenberger and Hannah Chauvin in that order. And I'm going to ask Leah and Hannah if you wouldn't mind going upstairs to the conference room so that we can interview Charlie. And we will bring you, Leah will be bringing you down first and Hannah second. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Burnham, if you'd like to come up to the front, as you know, we need to hear you in that microphone, or at least people online need to hear you. So we have, each of us is going to ask a series of questions. And of course, we're going to ask all the candidates the same question. Well, that's not necessarily, of course, but that is what we're going to do.
Have to swear me in.
I don't need to swear you in. I hope I don't need to swear you in. And, but thanks for asking. We're going to try and keep this to about 30 minutes per candidate, but we might go over a little bit. And just for the public's sake, we will interview the 3 candidates, and then I would expect a motion to go into executive session for the board members to have a chance to discuss what they've heard tonight. And then I would expect the board to come out of executive session tonight and make a decision. That's my expectation. I don't know what the other 3 feel about this. So let me just get going. So I was thinking about this earlier. I think I'm just going to say this to each one of you, but I wish there was 3 vacancies on the board, because there are, at least looking through the paperwork, there seem to be 3 very strong candidates, and Charlie, you're one of them. So thank you very much for being here and putting your name in the hat for filling Chris Palermo's seat. So could you just start here, Charlie, and just let us know a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on the board?
I'm interested, excuse me.
interested in becoming part of, hear me?
Might not be loud enough. Who's gonna put it beside you? It should catch you there. Thanks.
Thank you. I've been on lots of boards and committees and I feel that I would be a good fit for this board. I'm good at coming to consensus, coming to agreements, being positive, being constructive. And I feel that I have abilities to contribute to this board.
Okay, thank you. And how many of our select board meetings do you think you might have attended in the last 6 months?
In the last 6 months,
Approximately.
less than a half a dozen.
Okay. But you have attended some meetings. Yeah. Okay, pass it over.
So we're heading into kind of responsibilities and skills, so our questions are set up in kind of areas to kind of rein it in. So what's your understanding of our function as a select board and our responsibilities as a Vermont select board person?
Select boards are the chief executive officers of the municipalities. And your task is to organize and supervise municipal functions.
Yeah, love how concise you made that.
All set?
George?
Yep, thanks. So Charlie, look, why don't you describe for us your financial management and budgeting experience? And how would you approach presenting the town's budget to the community?
I've had experience in federal, local, and corporate finance and budgeting, extensive. I've served as treasurer on many boards. As treasurer, I've been responsible for preparing budgets by myself usually, and then bringing them forward for board reviews. I have reviewed Morristown's budget with a fine-tooth comb over the past couple of years, so I'm familiar with what it is you're doing and what you have to do.
Tell me a little more about the at the federal level, Charlie. What was that budgeting in?
I was 24 years in the Navy
Mhm.
in supervisory roles. Took many courses in federal budgeting and also preparing and managing budgets for shipboard use and also as a commanding officer of a naval intelligence unit. We had lots of budgets, and not only budgets, but personnel matters, extensive personnel management. I never have been involved with any union negotiations though.
Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie, are you familiar with Vermont's open meeting law, and what's your approach to ensuring transparency?
I've taken several courses in the Vermont open meeting law and the Vermont ethics courses, which I've taken. I also prepare agendas and supervise the minute taking in as my job in Elmore with the DRB and the Planning Commission. And we have open meetings there, and so I'm very familiar with how all that works.
So moving on to the next category, community and visions you might have for the community. What is your, what vision do you have for Morristown over, let's say, the next 5 years?
My vision over the last 40 years has been to encourage and enforce greater commercial activities, industrial, commercial stores, anything that would help commerce in Morristown. I was on the committee in the commission that formulated and grew the first industrial park in Morristown. And I've continued with that interest through Chamber of Commerce and through Regional Planning Commission. over the years. And the last couple of years being on the Board of Listers and chairman of the Board of Listers and ensuring the reappraisal and how all that fit in with the town of Morristown.
Right. Thank you. George?
Yeah, thanks. Give me just 1 second, Charlie. So Charlie, what do you see are the biggest challenges facing our town in the next 5 years, in the coming years? Open that more up. And how would you propose addressing them?
Well, one that's come to mind recently is the EMS and fire and some of the capital. I haven't reviewed your recent capital plan here in detail, but I think the emergency services is high on the list of things to pay attention to. I've been pleased with your new road commissioner and how that's been developing over the last year. But I see there's just lots of areas that need paying attention to, and not that it hasn't been in the past, but it needs continual looking at and management and balancing between societal interests.
Can I go back and dig into the EMS and fire?
Yes.
What specifically do you think needs to be focused on in those two areas?
I think personnel is the biggest expense that EMS has. I'm not so sure on fire, but EMS certainly the how the state has changed their regulations over the past dozen years to eliminate the volunteers and really rely on full-time personnel, highly trained and very expensive personnel. So I think addressing that and somehow being able to get more volunteers in there would be helpful.
All right, thank you, Charlie.
Sorry, Charlie. What things do you feel we need to prioritize in our community and why, Charlie?
On what?
What things do you feel we need to prioritize in our community and why?
It would be hard pressed to pick any one thing. I think there's lots of things that require lots of attention. I don't know if I could prioritize them.
Okay.
But EMS and fire would be up there. Roads.
Well up there. Roads, we have a pretty clear path as to what needs to be done and how to do it. It's just a matter of fitting all the needs into the budget. I think your road commissioner is a good man to make good recommendations on that.
Okay. Thank you.
As you know, we're continually dealing with our staff, community groups, taxpayers. So how do you base your decisions, and how would you handle differing opinions? I just mixed it up.
Well, I think it's, I'd have to go with the Don McDowell school there of listening to everybody. That's a nice part about these meetings is people get to express their opinions and then the board gets to discuss them and ferret out the ones that have good merit.
Okay.
Yeah, can I just, and how do you handle differing opinions? Because we have them, right?
But we all do.
Yes, we all do. And so
And I
how
think
do you
that's
manage?
good.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is to be constructive in how you discuss them and have your end goal in mind as to what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then work on good and constructive solutions to get there.
Me again, Charlie. So this is about your motivations for running for this board, which we all appreciate you doing. So why are you applying for the open select board position, and why are you the best candidate for the position?
Well, I think it's important that all municipal and most boards should have an odd number. So instead of retiring one of you four, we need to have another person on the board to accomplish the mix. And I think I'm the best one to do this because I've had lots of experience, and I feel that I can be a very constructive and beneficial member of the board.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
So I'm gonna mix up my question a little bit here because we're as you know, we're everyone in all of our staff are now union. So you spoke briefly about your experience with union, but what experience do you have as far as legal matters, legal negotiations and or mitigation? Do you have?
I
What's
have
your
no
background
union
legal?
experience.
Yeah.
But
How about
I've had
just legal?
personnel
dealings?
experience, and lots of legal experience in the real estate and the land ownership areas, and also in corporate law. But I don't have much experience in unions or.
Okay.
Describe a time you were involved in a difficult or highly contested group decision, and how did you handle it?
Well, I ran for representative for the Washington Lamoille District last year. I felt that was a difficult situation because we're lucky enough here in Morristown to be in a district that encompasses 5 different towns, 3 newspapers, 12 zip codes, and somehow you had to reach out to all of those. And I think I did, but I don't think I did very well because I was beaten by an 8-term incumbent. So that was a difficult situation for me to try to get my head around all that.
So Charlie, we've asked you a lot of questions. We've covered a lot of different bases. Is there anything you were hoping to tell us that we haven't asked you yet? Anything you want to add?
But yes. You've all had an opportunity to see my resume. And listing my past experience over the past century or so. I've been on lots of boards, been in lots of situations, and each one of those situations required me to be appointed or selected to be on those boards. Even my employment history. I've not only been selected to be on boards, but I've been lucky enough to hold positions on the board of chairman, treasurer, co-chair. So I've always been in a leadership position. And I think I would be a good candidate for a leadership position in the town of Morristown.
So just one last follow-up. Any questions you have for us? Anything you would like to ask us? We've been asking you a bunch of questions.
As a group, no, I don't have any questions. I'm very pleased with the way you conduct your business here.
I guess one question I would, well, I don't know if it's a question, but I know that you're on the Morrisville Developmental Fund committee currently appointed. And are there any other current committees that you're on? That I
In
can't remember?
Morristown?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. Neighboring towns though?
I am in Elmore. I am on the EMS study committee, which is studying the relationship between Morristown and Elmore and trying to come up with some creative solutions to some EMS situations.
That's a new committee, isn't it?
It is, it's fairly new.
So if you,
And here again, it's a committee that is good.
Yeah.
It's we're seeking to come up with a constructive solution to it's essentially a budgetary problem. And without getting involved with people's without getting involved in people,
Yeah.
management, it's a budget issue. It's a budget issue and it can be solved.
So if you were nominated to occupy that empty seat on the board, would you continue on that committee or would you remove yourself from that committee?
I would remove myself from the Elmore side of it.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm paid in Elmore to be a zoning administrator. I'm not paid to be a EMS advisor. They asked me to do that because of my 7 years of EMS experience.
Okay. Well, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for
Thank
coming
for
in.
the opportunity.
Okay,
So,
I think,
I think, it's okay for you to stay in and listen
Yes.
to the other interviews.
yes, it is. Yeah.
I don't know if.
Charlie, you're welcome to stay. Yeah. As a member of the public.
A clarification.
I have a quick question now. Now, why is he able to stay to stay?
Because his interview is done. He's just a member of the public now. So,
It's equable,
To have. Yes.
yeah,
Correct.
equability,
Yeah.
so they don't hear the questions before they walk in.
And
After
we-
they've,
we won't be going back to, yeah. Hello, Leah.
Hello.
So, we finished one of our interviews, obviously. And, first of all, I just want to thank you for coming in. Thank you for throwing your name in the hat to fill the vacant seat. I said to the previous candidate that, I wish there were 3 vacancies, given the paperwork that we've received, or at least that I've read through.
I was very happy to see the other candidates. They're strong. It's good to have them.
So there's 3 strong candidates. However, with that said, we need to make a decision. And, so I'm just going to start off. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on the select board?
Well, I don't want to assume you know a lot about me, but I do attend the select board meetings and I have spoken in front of you on a couple of different occasions. My number one motivation is I strive to be of service and particularly would like to be of service to the community in which we live in. My husband was born and raised in Morrisville, and we moved here in 2000 to raise our family. And since then, I've served on a number of boards and different organizations and steering committees and ad hoc committees and projects and all sorts of things. But in thinking about applying, one thing that kind of stood out was throughout my career, I have been hired at the executive level to lead and help manage through change. And just to give you some examples, I joined Copley Hospital shortly after there was a really chaotic and divisive change in the administration. The president of the hospital changed. And they brought me in about a year into the new administration, basically because they wanted to run a capital campaign. But we discovered that folks didn't know what was going on with the hospital. So it really became more about getting the hospital more involved in the community, so the community knew what was happening at the hospital. And then eventually setting it on the path to where we could have a capital campaign. We replaced 50-year boilers, 50-year-old boilers. We renovated the emergency room, and then we built a new surgical suite, which was the $3.2 million capital campaign. From there, and part of that with the hospital, I also was part of the team that worked on strategy and presentation to the Green Mountain Care Board in support of the hospital budgets and the certificate of need that a hospital needs whenever they want to do any type of renovation. So that was also within my responsibility to help with that. I joined Northern Vermont University about midway through their efforts to unify the
Johnson State College and Linden State College. And I was hired specifically to unite the alumni relations programs and the development programs at that university. Shortly after I arrived, the chancellor announced that he wanted to close both campuses. And so my job switched to become more external relations and governmental relations to help strategize and make the case that both campuses should still survive. And they are now working and operating under Vermont State Colleges. Both were vital to the local community and local economy, but also for first generation students and also what they call non-traditional students, which are adults looking to return for a degree of sorts. So all involved identifying stakeholders, listening, finding common ground, building relationships, and also telling the story of the organizations and helping folks understand why it was important and why the actions that were being taken to help to have a desired outcome. So that, in a nutshell, is what I do.
Okay, great.
Oh,
You've kind of alluded to this. I just want to make sure I ask everyone the same
Yes.
question, but
sure.
so how many of the select board meetings do you think you've attended in the last 6 months?
Many of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
I've been interested in several of the, I was interested in several of the topics, and then I just got interested in how it all worked. And then I got interested in sitting in the back row thinking, wow, this is, how do I feel about that? And then I see that, and what would my questions be? And so then I just started kind of in my head doing that. And sometimes commenting, sometimes not.
Thank
So
you.
that actually segues into my next question is just, what's your understanding of the functions and responsibilities of a Vermont Select Board? Because we're under state statutes, how we operate, although we're overseeing a municipality.
Yes. So we are to operate to make sure that the town operates legally and ethically under both local, state, regional ordinances, guidelines, policies. We want to follow, as you said earlier, we want to follow our own policies as well. Certainly the budget, but also I think the select board is responsible for providing services for the town in general in an equitable way as much as possible. So you really are an advocate for all residents of the community and the responsibility to make sure that the town itself is legal and doesn't take extraordinary risk.
Thank you, George.
Yep, thanks. Leah, you already talked a bit about your duties and responsibilities at the University of Northern Vermont and vice president at Copley. So I bring that up to ask you to maybe focus on some of the other organizations that you've listed in your resume to answer this question, but go back to the ones if you want. So the question is really, describe your experiences with financial management and budgeting and how you would approach presenting the town's budget to the community.
Okay. In all of my positions, I also worked at Vermont Public Radio at the time. So have always been responsible for some portion of a budget, that section, and also raising funds to help meet the overall budget of the organization. So I budget as if I'm budgeting for my own family. And I, even before Vermont Public Radio, got into the practice of you create a budget based on, you kind of look back the past 3 years, you look to what you know is coming up, and those both inform how you set your budget. Sometimes you need a little reality check, so you adjust for that. But I also got into the process of having to, at times, do a lifeboat budget, meaning let's say the Green Mountain Care Board doesn't approve the budget and we have to go, because typically they would say you can request a 3% increase. And so what say they said, came back and said 2%. So you had to do kind of a lifeboat budget. So I would also do my budget, and then I would also work through, what if I had to do a lifeboat budget, which is an awful phrase, but that's how you approach it.
What you mean.
And so you would have to kind of make decisions as to what would you take away, and be able to justify that. But it also helped you make the case as to why it should stay. And I think as far as budget goes, I think it needs, you want to be transparent at every step of the way. And one thing I have learned is that sometimes there's some really difficult conversations, and you have to be okay with being uncomfortable, and you can acknowledge how uncomfortable conversation and discussions like these can be.
Let me follow up for just a second,
Sure.
if you don't mind, Richard. So most of the lengthy amount of work that you've done is in fundraising to generally there's a target set for like the surgical upgrades that happened at Copley and whatnot.
And predicting what that target could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'd like you to do is compare that kind of budgeting and fundraising to a community budgeting where one of the pressures is, what's the tax rate going to be in blunt, simple English?
Correct.
Yes, please.
So that, again, I would look to the town administration for input and background as to why they're requesting, what they're requesting. I think as a board, you hear from the community what the concerns are, what perhaps priorities may be, and you want to kind of blend those two together. And then you have to have a tough conversation about what is possible, what's feasible. And from there, you kind of go back and rework the budget up or down from there. And at that point, but you also have to really, I think you need to talk about what some of those struggles were and talk about, this is why we went with this versus that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Richard?
Are you familiar with Vermont's open meeting law, and what's your approach to ensuring transparency?
I'm aware of open meeting law. Your second part of your question was
What is your approach to ensuring transparency?
my approach to ensuring transparency. My approach is to follow the law first and foremost. But then I also think about how would I want to be treated. So I want respectful, clear, concise communication. And I want to be able to ask questions and have someone that I can approach to ask questions and get answers. So I think that's my approach. From what I understand previously with appointments, I think from the last meeting, it sounded like the interviews were held privately with a select board, and then an appointment was made. And I can understand that, but I actually feel very good about having an open interview so that townspeople can hear the type of questions that you're asking, because I think it helps townspeople understand what you're looking for and understand the type of things you're considering. So I think it helps both ways. And I think it helps for them to hear from the potential appointees as well. Did that answer your question?
Fantastic.
Okay.
So moving on to another category, just about community, about vision. What is your vision for Morristown over, say, the next 5 years?
I think Morristown has so much going on for it right now, and I would like to see it continue to be and be a vibrant, thriving community. And I think we have a lot of things going for us in that arena. I am concerned about the overall affordability for all the residents in the community. I have adult children that have recently moved back to Vermont. They are struggling to find affordable housing. I am concerned about affordable healthcare. I'm concerned about what's happening with healthcare in general, but healthcare also locally and the health of our own local hospital. Just the overall quality of life, both for young families, both for our elderly, and even all of us in between that. So the idea is to make sure that we have services that are needed in the community and a way to fund that without being onerous on our taxpayers. So the vision I have is to collectively work together and open to ideas and open to looking at other ways to perhaps do things. But I don't presume to come in saying, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, because I don't know what I don't know yet. It's different once you're on the board, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Thank you. George?
Yep. So I'm gonna ask you, what do you think we need to do? What do you see as the biggest challenges facing our town in the coming years, and how would you propose addressing them?
Well, I think I listed already what the big concerns are, and I actually think that there are several things that are being done now that I think if continued and I'm going to say continued, would help quite a bit. It sounds like there's a lot of rebuilding of relationships that are happening between the select board and the town and other constituents in the community. I think pursuing the downtown designation is a great idea because it certainly opens up more availability of grants and other funding, but also other collaborations that I think are really key. I do know that there's been some conversation about local option tax, and I quite honestly don't know how I feel about that, but I would like to explore more. I'm very good about doing research. I've learned a lot about Act 250 since the last couple of meetings, done a lot of research into that. So I do think there's an opportunity to pursue grants, particularly in collaboration, working in partnership with other entities and organizations in the community and perhaps on a larger regional area.
Thank you.
Richard?
What things do you feel we need to prioritize in our community and why?
Going in two different directions in my head with that question. I think first and foremost, the budget, because I think it's on everybody's mind right now. I would like to, I think certainly housing and affordability are key issues to explore. I'm also, like I said, I think that in many ways, there seems to be movement in the right direction as far as transparency and communication. But I think communications can always be improved. And part of it is in determining how to do sessions like this. I remember it's difficult for working families, young folks to attend some of these meetings, even by Zoom. There's a lot of demands on time. But I do remember attending a listening tour when there was a conversation about the recreation committee or recreation position. And I remember there was, I'm going to call it a listening tour. And I think sometimes that is really helpful. Now with open meeting law, there can only be one or two at the most. But I think having those at different places, different times, different areas, and making that effort so that folks can weigh in on things is very helpful.
So mine is more about, because again, you have to deal with the staff, you've got to deal with community groups and the taxpayers. So how do you base your decisions and how do you handle differing opinions, which I've seen you in action, so. But for everybody.
So there's always more than two sides to a story. There's always multiple perspectives. And so personally, my goal is to get as many of those perspectives as possible. So I want to identify who are the stakeholders, and I would like to certainly check in with them to hear what their concerns are. And at that point, then it just really becomes almost like an overlay is, okay, what is the issue at hand? What are the concerns? What are the constraints we have? What are the opportunities we have? And just kind of keep overlaying that until you find commonality. And that tends to lead you to a path. And sometimes it may not always be the easiest path. It may be a path that makes some people uncomfortable, make me uncomfortable sometimes. And you have to just be okay with sitting through that, but communicating through that. And I think acknowledging how difficult it is. And so I think being upfront and transparent, even if we have a difference of opinion, as long as we're respectful and express the difference of opinions, but at the end of the day, there's a decision that's made. As a part of the board, I abide by that decision and I will uphold that decision, and I will continue to talk about this is why we made that decision, and here's why that decision was made, and here's what the positive, I would hope, outcome of that decision is. Does that make sense? Does that
Mhm.
answer
Yep,
that question?
yep.
Okay.
That answered for me.
George?
Yep. So Leah, why are you applying for the open select board position, and why are you the best candidate for that position?
I'm applying because, as I said, I've watched the select board in action for quite a while now. And when I started questioning myself as if I was a board member, I thought, well, maybe you should apply since there's a vacancy. So to be of service to the community, and because it interests me and I find it stimulating, and I'd like to be of help. And I think I've just laid out why I think I would be a good candidate. I don't really have, I think Charlie is a great candidate. I think Hannah's a great candidate. We were having a grand conversation upstairs. So I think as a town, how lucky are we that we've got 3 folks that would step up? But I do hope you consider me.
Thank you, Leah.
So, as you know, all of our staff are union and have gone union, so, I'm curious what your experience is, with union in all of your involvement that you've done. And, what's your, what, legal backgrounds do you have, and as far as, negotiations and, negotiations and mediation?
Mhm. I have worked with a number of unions. Copley Hospital has a nurses union. And at time, I think I went through 2 nurses union negotiations, if I recall. Not necessarily actively involved with that, but just aware of what the concerns were and what the issues were. And then I wrote the whatever the hospital would state about union negotiations, I would state the hospital's position on that. Certainly we want to work, and always you'd want to work with the union, support the union. At NVU, we had multiple unions. You had the faculty was a union, you had a staff union as well. And there was a 3rd union, which I'm forgetting how it was. So they're part of your internal stakeholders that you also need to communicate with and understand what their concerns are. And again, it's respectful dialogue, meeting at the table, laying out what the concerns are and finding commonality, and sometimes having really difficult conversations. But if you're treated with respect on both sides, you tend to find a way to work it out.
Thank you.
Richard, describe a time when you were involved in a difficult or highly contested group decision, and how did you handle it?
I've had many of those. And I would say I handled it much like I'm handling this. I would bring what I knew about the situation. I would bring in the perspective of the various internal stakeholders that I had talked with, what my concerns were, and then I would actually lay out the pros and cons. And if there were going to be issues, what were the issues, and then what potentially could we do to address those issues? So it's bit of a deliberate, and thoughtful, and trying to see it from every angle as much as a human can do. But with the goal of, again, reaching commonality and what would be the best overall decision. When I say organization, I mean certainly the town and its residents.
So we've asked you a bunch of questions. Is there anything you might want to add that we haven't asked you
Well, I would
that you thought we might ask you?
kind of would like to know two things really, other than the budget, what do you feel is the most pressing issue for the board to address,
Other than the budget?
other than the budget?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it comes under the umbrella of the budget. I mean, there's nothing that doesn't come under, well, I suppose there's something, but infrastructure needs in town. We've spent a lot of time on the board since I've been here talking about infrastructure. Police department needs a new building. The fire needs a new building. Highway, we're spending an awful lot of money renting a very nice garage up on the bypass, but it's costing us $100,000 a year. That's an infrastructure need. We've talked about roads. It's just a discussion that keeps going on and on and on. I'm very glad to see Walton Road chewed up today. So that's we're moving forward.
I did like the recent presentation on sidewalks and streets where it looks like we're getting to be more of a maintenance. Hopefully,
But to answer your question briefly, infrastructure.
yeah.
I guess mine would be, just the town being proactive and getting a vision of where we want to be instead of, we're still chasing our tail on so many things and reactive, which is what we have to do currently. But you just never get ahead being reactive. And I think exactly what you're talking about with the highway is there, he has started to do that. We've got to get in front of this. But overall, just a vision of, what is the town we want to live in and can afford to live in. Throw that in there.
There might be a grant. The Orton Family Foundation has that process that they do. And Morristown had did it a long time ago, early on in 2000 or something.
Yeah, I lived in a town that did that, and boy, it made all the difference in the
Yeah,
world.
and well, that's how River Arts started. I remember River Arts came out of that.
Nice.
Was involved with that. So yeah, so it's part of that. And then my other question is, when you first joined the board, what surprised you the most about being on the
What you
board?
don't know. Is there's so many things that you don't know and why things happen, and even today, there's still things that surprise me, that why do we do it that way? And there's a reason for most of the things we do, but that's the biggest thing for me.
And I'll say, as the newest.
Yeah.
Shows how not the youngest.
Careful there.
The newest member of the board, it's time. I mean.
Yeah,
You look at the schedule, and say, okay, it's 2 meetings a month, first and the third Monday of the
Yeah, not
month, and you come in for a
recently.
few hours and you
Yeah.
do your thing. That's true, but that's not
Yeah.
at all. I mean, a number of things, as Richard was alluding to, come up, and whether it's a dog ordinance, which you end up spending a lot of time on because you're trying to get it right.
Yeah.
Budget development, a lot of these hearings, we just did a hearing on the, community plan for the designated downtown designation. All of those start to take time, and I don't think any of the three candidates are thinking, okay, I'm going to, it's a 4-hour week job, a month job kind of thing. But the surprise to me was the amount of time that to do this job properly, which I know all three candidates want to do, takes time, takes prep work. You've got to read up to come and be prepared to hear or have an opinion on it. Statutory, I'm looking at VSA all the time to see what in the hell is the statute that everybody's quoting about, and what is it, how does it impact on us? It's just if you want to do the job right, you've got to do the research ahead of time so that when you come here, you're not setting an opinion, but you have a number of, at least what you believe, of facts that surround the topic of the conversation. And that takes commitment and takes time.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
For me, I'd just say very quickly, it was an appreciation for all that is going on in this town. An appreciation for all that the people who work for this town do. And, you know, I've lived here for 40 years now, and for the first 37 years before I got on the board, I thought I had a pretty good feeling for what was going on in town. I did not have a very good feeling for what was going on in town, except for my little world and what affected me. And so it's, you've alluded to this. There's a lot of stakeholders, and there's a lot of stakeholders in the public. There's a lot going on out there. And it's been humbling, you know, to listen to the people that are working for this town, to think about all the policy decisions that need to be made for the town, as well as the budgetary decisions that need to be made.
I guess that actually leads into a question we haven't asked, and just that you're currently a justice of the peace for Lemoyne County elected.
Yes.
And that term ends. Just
I'm
curious.
actually, I just signed on to go up for election.
So you'll be up for, just curious.
Yeah.
And then it looks like you're some other, do you want to just speak to what other?
Yeah, I want to say probably maybe about a year ago, appointed to the Copley Trust Fund as like the open trustee. But we've not met since that appointment. And in what I've read, according to how that fund was set up, any project that comes before the trust fund has to be approved by the town, because the town has to manage any further maintenance afterwards. And so the select board serves on that board. So I know I got the kind of the vibe that there was interest in my development background in serving on that board. So they would still have my development background. I would just be in a select board seat if that's the case.
So that was my final question, Leah. Would you remove yourself from the Copley Trust Fund board since if you were appointed to the select board?
I think I would have to, because
Great.
I couldn't sit two seats on the same board.
Yeah, I think you would as well.
Do that.
Okay, great.
And there were several other folks that also interviewed for that appointment. So I think there's some good candidates.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time and the questions. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Nice stay and
You certainly may stay. You are a member of the public at this point.
Is it the seventh inning stretch?
I think so.
I hope it's not the seventh inning of the Red Sox Yankees game already.
In here.
Yes, that is your seat. It's been literally warmed up for you.
Yeah. It was like waiting for the dentist upstairs.
Well, thank you for coming in, Hannah. Thank you for throwing your name in the hat to fill the vacancy on the select board. We certainly appreciate that. And I'm going to say what I said to the other two candidates. I sincerely wish I do and I don't wish there was 3 vacancies on the board, because we have 3, at least on paper, very strong candidates, and you're one of them. So thank you very much for that. And so my first question is, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on the board?
Sure. I grew up in Morrisville. The board is it okay to address everyone? I
Yes.
know that you are the deciding factor. So I grew up in Morrisville. I have since spent a number of years away, but I feel like a child of Morrisville. I grew up listening to 93.9, really hoping on snowy days that Roland LaJoy would call a school closure. It didn't, I think, doesn't happen as often now as it did in the past. But I went to what was then called Bishop Marshall School, and then commuted to high school in Burlington, graduated from Rice before doing a degree in political science in Massachusetts. I didn't have, and I don't have, any big ambitions of being a politician. I think politics is a little bit of a, the effect of the things that I love most, which is people and systems. And that is, to answer your question, why I'm here. The paper published that there was 1.5 applications for a vacant seat, and I believe that we are at a crucial time, not only in our town's story, but in the story of the state and of the country. I feel a deep passion for civic responsibility. My degree in political science, again, didn't lead me into a love of politics, but it did lead me to the United States Senate, where I served for 8 years in the background, not as an elected official, but really honing a career that was predicated on getting people to come together. The Senate Appropriations Committee is in the news a lot today, particularly because there's bit of a shutdown looming, but that was where I cut my teeth as a Senate staffer, was getting people from across the aisle, from different states, from different backgrounds, who would all come to this beautiful building in Washington, D.C., because they believed in something. And often, more often than not, you can find commonalities between those positions. I can't promise that I'm going to know all of the details of all of the politics of everything that's going on in Morrisville, but I can promise that I have proven in my career the ability to take an immense amount of information and distill it down into decision-making, and to communicate those decisions clearly to what is clearly a very engaged populace. That's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think the short of it is I spent a lot of years saying that I grew up next to Stowe, and I believe deeply in Morrisville's future to not only weather the storms that I think are happening locally at the state level and nationally, but to really thrive in the face of them. I would love to play a small part in that. I recognize that there is only one vacancy, and I trust the board will make the correct decision.
Thank you. In the last 6 months, say, have you attended select board meetings? And if so,
Attended this recent one.
okay.
I want to acknowledge that I have spent time away from Morrisville and from Vermont, and that on paper, and I think to answer your question, I have some very competitive fellow candidates. I think that there is a sense that sometimes civic engagement is not for everyone, and I don't often see voices or faces that look like mine in municipal or, to be honest, state government. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but one of the purposes that I'm here, I told this to Judy, I sent my application in 3 minutes under the deadline. It's like 1 p.m. on a Friday, it was 12:57. This is not like a comfortable place for me to be, but I think that you can't be what you don't see. And so if my being here means that someone else steps up to the plate on town meeting day, or steps up to the plate in another position, then I will have served my purpose here today. Not that I don't want the seat, but I just, yeah, on to level set.
Thank you, Anna.
What is your understanding of the functions and responsibilities of the Vermont Select Board? Because again, we deal with the open meeting law, so it's very different than, it's different, but not, you know, we're under state statutes and the open meeting law, and yet we still have to adhere to the big daddy, the federal, so.
Sure, yes. My understanding of the function of this select board is that it acts much as in a corporate function. There would be a board of directors to a CEO, that is the function of this board, the CEO being the town manager, and the shareholders being the residents of this town.
That's it.
Thank you. George.
Yep, thanks. So Hannah, describe to me, let me back up a second. I know reading your resume, you spent a lot of time working with financial data as a Senate staffer for various subcommittees. But talk to us about your experience with financial management and budgeting And how would you approach presenting the town's budget to the community?
Yeah, great question. So for those of you who didn't get to read my resume or my long cover letter, the role of a Senate appropriations staffer is taking a budget request from an agency in the federal government. Mine were United States Department of Agriculture agencies, taking that request, looking at what their increases are, whether it's for staffing and operations, whether it's for capital improvement projects, and determining, in a perfect world, to the budget allocation, which of those projects meet the criteria to be included in the federal appropriations bill. And I recognize that an $18 billion portfolio seems like not a real number, to be frank, and it didn't to me either. There's two keys that I think transferred regardless of what the budget size is, and I deal with that a little bit in the state now too. One is transparency. Budgets are really intimidating. There's projections and there's percentages and there's increases, and nobody's going to agree on all of the line items all the time. Clear communication and transparency about what that means is massively important. The second bit is having a very clear understanding of what your bottom line looks like and all of the machinations that go into the best decisions. I think the select board is in a unique position in that there is this development of a budget that then comes before the select board for review and then goes to the voters. That's a very complex system. Acting as a proper check and balance, each of those levels is a check and balance on the level that comes before it. So working hand in hand with the town manager that's developing the budget, having a clear understanding of what the factors are, what the lending environment that we're in is, whether it's which capital projects are scalable, understanding clearly what the picture is and how to translate that both to voters and into a budget that doesn't make everybody panic. That's important whether you're talking about municipal government or federal government. That is truly the crux of the role here.
Thank you.
Richard, are you familiar with Vermont's open meeting law, and what's your approach to ensuring transparency?
I have not read the statute. I know that it's on the website. Transparency is the most crucial part of government. I want to, in equal measure to integrity and authenticity. I think there is a very fine line between being transparent and inviting criticism and trying to make everyone happy, and being transparent and making sure that everyone has a fair shot at being heard, and also recognizing that the select board and town manager are in positions to make decisions that not everyone is going to be happy with. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So moving on to a different category, community and vision.
Yeah.
What's your vision for Morristown over, let's say, the next 5 years?
Yeah. It's just more I love the ethos that we have here and the intentional development that has been done, certainly over a longer period than the last 10 years, but I think the last 10 years are notable. And I think it says a lot about the town and how it's developed that we have continued to thrive. I know not everyone will agree with that, but thrive post-pandemic. I think, again, local government is challenging because not everyone will be happy all the time. What I would love to see in Morrisville is a continuation of the incredible community that is really the foundation of what we do here. I am amazed at the number of events that are put on at the library, that are at the Oxbow, Rocktoberfest. It is truly a place where I think there is something for everyone. I would also love to see an expansion of what everyone means and looks like. We are facing, as everyone knows, this is not news to anyone, changing demographics in the state, significant affordability challenges in workforce development, and a world that is changing rapidly. We are increasingly digitally connected, and I would argue in some ways, increasingly personally disconnected. And I think that Morrisville has a true magic about it that is really, I think, could be developed. The Morrisville of tomorrow could be this place that is not just the place that people want to come for the weekend, but that they come for a lifetime because of the community foundations that we've built. Growing that into the future is essential, not just to our everyday survival, but really to the future of the towns.
Thank you. George?
Yep. Give me just 1 second. Thank you. So Hannah, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing our town in the coming years? And how would you propose addressing them?
How nitty-gritty would you like that answer to be?
Go. As long as you want.
Sure. So I think philosophically, the three are literacy, loneliness, and livelihoods. And I don't just mean literacy in a literal ability to read. I mean in the way that we are accessing systems, whether that it is digital communications, whether it's understanding how to do budgets. We are seeing, again, massive shifts in the global economy towards things that I don't think everyone is comfortable with, and it will take a big learning curve to become comfortable with. I think that how we interact with each other is perhaps the most important form of literacy. Loneliness, we are seeing an aging population that is also we're in a rural place. We have increased isolation. We also have, I think, hopefully, a lot of newcomers that haven't put down roots yet. Merging, finding a place for those two communities and groups to meet, I think is vital, again, to the future of this town and county and state. Livelihoods, again, we know that the job market is shifting. The only way to make any rurality, locality, municipality sustainable is by having jobs that are accessible, that pay the bills, that put food on the table, and that enable someone to put down roots without fear of where their next paycheck is coming from. There is no silver bullet. We know that. We know that at the state level. We see that at the national level. Again, Morrisville is so well primed. I'm never going to be able to call it Morristown. I'm sorry. Morrisville is so well primed to address all of those challenges. We have an abundance of land. We have an economy that is not constrained by being solely focused on tourism and hospitality. We have housing that can be renovated or built. I know that's a hot topic. We have spaces that can be developed for recreation. Again, I'm aware that that's a hot topic. We have so much here, managing it sustainably and figuring out what that looks like with a diversity of generational inputs, I think is, of course, the largest challenge that any municipal government faces.
Thank you.
What things do you feel we need to prioritize in our community and why?
I think I'm going to start sounding like a broken record.
They're similar. A lot of these questions
Yeah,
are similar, but they're
okay.
all, I think, pointed maybe in a little bit different direction.
Yeah. I think in the short term, the answer to that is the budget. And I mean that a little bit as a proxy for a bit of a larger conversation. What the town decides, puts forward as a budget is reflective of all of the priorities that are contained within. I think the role of whoever takes this seat is short. And in my mind, that has to be the focus. There's a number of other kind of pieces in the wind, I understand, but in the short term, figuring out what to do budgetarily in the face of a challenging borrowing environment, massive education reform, all of those things is really important. I think that is our line in the sand, our flag on the moon for how we proceed. In the medium term, I truly think, medium to long term, I truly think it is building on what has been done so far to both draw the short term and the medium to long term individual to come stay for a weekend, for a couple months, for a lifetime, and really addressing the varying and changing demographics that we are seeing, making sure that folks who have lived here for their whole lives continue to feel like part of the community, and that folks who have perhaps moved away, come back, or have not come back, just moved here, also feel like that part of the community.
Great. So as you know, we're dealing with, most of our folks are union. And as a select board, you're dealing with all the employees, the different community groups, taxpayers. So how do you base your decisions And how would you handle differing opinions? Because we have a very diverse
Yeah,
opinions out here, which is good.
that's the name of the gig, I think. How do I base my opinion depends on the decision that's to be made. Like I said previously, an open and transparent government means that there is an acknowledgement of everyone's innate need to be heard. It does not and cannot and necessarily will not mean that everyone will be content at the end of the day. We had not even a saying, but an understanding that if nobody was happy with the bill that we'd written a good bill. Because that is the reality, not just of government, but of living. There are going to have to be sacrifices. I think the culture that you build around those sacrifices often really dictates what the outcome of those decisions is. Clear communication is a huge component of that. Transparency isn't just, here's what we're doing, it's here's how we're communicating it, and here's how everyone that is here can ensure that they will be heard in the future. Again, all of my career has included taking folks that are on very opposite sides of whatever ideological spectrum there is, on whatever issue there is, and trying to find middle ground. And that's not always successful, but that really is the name of the job.
Thank you very much.
George. Yep, thanks. Just getting there. So this is a question about your motivation for running. Why are you applying for the open select board position? And I know you kind of danced this quite a few times, but that's okay. And why are you the best candidate for the position?
To reiterate, I applied because there is no level of government that I believe more significantly impacts lives than municipal government. There is often a focus on marquee political positions, whether that's gubernatorial, federally elected positions, whatever that is. But the work that happens in this building, in this town, impacts people more directly, I believe, in a lot of ways. For there to be a vacancy, I agree with Ms. Streets that an appointment is not an ideal situation. But the appointment of an unopposed candidate is perhaps the only thing more undemocratic than to do appointment at all. And I want to be clear that I agree in this case that both budget and time are of the essence. And so doing a special election was probably not the most optimal. That's my motivation for running. Again, 3 minutes under the line was a stressful Friday afternoon. Like I said, I can't promise that I will have the background on every issue. I was asked previously what I know about the politics in Morrisville, and I can't promise that I will have all of the answers for all of those things either. I think that's actually a value here. Local politics often becomes the most entrenched. It is the most personal. It is the people that you see in the grocery store. I think having a little bit of distance from that isn't the worst thing. It doesn't mean that I intend to run at town meeting day in perpetuity forever, but from now until March, there is a need in this town to make decisions that are, in the view of the select board and hopefully of the voters, best for the future of the town. I have proven, both in my professional career, when I was reading hundreds of pages of congressional budget justifications, CBJs, the driest budget you'll ever read, and in distilling that into a spreadsheet. I have proven that when I was doing my first graduate degree while working full-time, and I have proven that I can do that when I did an MBA in 10 months last year. I am able to take the information in front of the board, in front of the town, assess it, and present what I think is the best decision.
Thank you. Laura.
Did I miss a page?
Last page, yeah.
Sorry, I did. Thank you. I went somewhere else for a minute. Just your previous work and, in the community, and I guess because of where we're going so much with, I guess I'm a little more interested in just not community, but our community has become very legal. So, yeah. So I guess I'm a little more interested in, in how you've dealt with community and in a legal sense? And have you been involved in negotiations and mediation? And again, the difference being in that there's a legal aspect to it that we're now confronted with very regularly.
Sure. I feel like I should say I've never been sued.
That's
I guess I'm not wholly sure how to answer the question. Am I comfortable in a mediation setting?
yeah, and negotiations, you know. when
Yeah.
Actually negotiating and mediating when there's differing parties and that a solution has to come, because again, with the legal background, it's a little bit, you know, we're finding that more and more, so it's not just about the decisions in here. We're now faced with kind of bigger
Sure.
legal aspects of the job.
I guess I would consider that to be just another layer of it. It's the same, right? It's taking stakeholders that have opposing views, but in a court of law or with a legal decision or a DRB or whatever that is. But I guess it's an escalation, but it's part and parcel, I think, with the rest of the work.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, legal, we have more restrictions, I guess, is
Sure.
you know, as part of it is that you've got another aspect and dealing with that law is
Sure.
very different.
I can assure you that I have dealt with many laws and I'm comfortable in doing so.
Richard.
Can you describe a time when you were involved in a difficult or highly contested group decision and how you handled it?
Sure can. Which appropriated project? I don't think the issue at hand matters, so I'll give a kind of a rough sketch. There is a finite amount of funding, despite what some may believe at the federal level. And that funding is always in contention. And when working with various stakeholder groups in the agriculture world, you often you have many competing priorities, and it is zero sum. There is not, we can't split the baby, to use the biblical term. There is no 50% because 50% doesn't get you very far. That happens repetitively. And sometimes it's less successful than other times, but the way that you handle it, or that I believe it is to be handled, is the same way that I think I have said I believe this work should be handled, which is with transparency. There is no backdoor dealing. There is no say one thing to someone's face and another thing behind their back. It's with authenticity, so truly saying what you believe is the correct path forward, and with integrity, which means if you don't, it's not the role of the mediator to forcefully promulgate what they believe is the end all be all best decision. I think that philosophy applies whether it's to conservation funding through USDA or any issue really, whether it's budgetary or otherwise.
So Hannah, we've asked you a lot of questions.
You sure have.
And first I'll just ask, is there anything we haven't asked you that you might want to add?
I don't think so. I think the only thing I would add is that sitting upstairs did feel like waiting for the dentist in like the worst way. And I couldn't hear anything but the laughter, which like couldn't have been more intimidating. But I just want to reiterate that I think I spent a lot of my life, both living here and away, grappling with what it meant to be from Morristown, 05661. And it's, I guess on a personal note, such an honor to be here and to feel like I have come full circle with that grappling. This is truly an incredible place to be. We are so lucky to have access to a rail trail and to a co-op and have sidewalks that are walkable. And to have a movie theater and driving out past the airport, this beautiful expanse, and when the sun is setting, it's the most beautiful thing. I live on Randolph Road, so sometimes I go out that way, out the long way. It is notable to me, just the gratitude that I feel to sit in this room today. I was saying to Judy, my mother had a photo exhibit here when I was about 7. And I will just, that's what I always think of when I think of the Tegu Building, is seeing like pictures of cows mounted on foam core on the walls. But I think what it speaks to is the longevity of a community that has, again, weathered challenges and is really well positioned to be successful in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any last question?
I do.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, just one. What does success in this role look like to each of you in the next 5 months? What are you looking for? I won't press, but what does success for the 5th member of your team look like in the next 6 months?
That's a great question. Boy, there's a lot of different ways to answer that, isn't there? Clearly, somebody who's able to get up to speed quickly, someone who's able to, I guess the obvious answer is somebody who can represent the needs, the concerns of the town that we live in, and is able to work with the 4 of us to get the best possible result, whatever that might be. I mean, you've alluded to this, the other 2 candidates have alluded to this. Municipal government, local government's difficult. And we're not always going to agree. That's perfectly fine. But success is, I think, responding to the needs and the concerns of the citizens and the residents and the taxpayers that we represent as best we can. And it's difficult.
I would say, I'm always looking for diversity and perspective, because we each have our different backgrounds and our perceptions, and bringing those together to really kind of unite and to take this town forward. It's baby steps. As I had mentioned before, I personally am pushing to get us into a progressive, where we're in front of things and we're not chasing. But part of dealing with the past is getting the perspective and getting the building blocks to move us forward rather than just being reactive. It's every decision we make is building us towards something else. So it's not just fix it and go. So that's what I personally am hoping for, because I think, no matter how much we try not to, we get set in our ways, and we have our communities, and our opinions come out of those communities as much as we try to. So I think as much diversification we can get and perspective.
I think what I want to see is someone that can work collaboratively with the rest of the board, bring differences of opinions and different perspectives, to try to push us forward, to piggyback on what Laura said. I appreciate we have a lot of things here that we need to develop that we have in our town. I want someone that's the board to work collaboratively with.
I think if we're just talking about to March, which would be when that position would terminate and either choose to run for an election or say thanks, but I only wanted to do the temporary. The goal setter in that is the budget right now. If this was another time of the year, it would be a different answer. Right now, it's the budget, and the budget to pass the budget, but the budget obviously is a reflection of the plan. Where do we want this town to go, and what do we want to fund with the limited resources that we have that the voters will allocate to us at some point? We can get just too far along, and the voters are going to rein us back in. So what would I hope for the new 5th member? To as quickly as possible start to understand, grasp the various views that exist on the board and in the community. The board is not segregated from the community. We all have our own opinions of different things, as do the voters, and how to help the four of us and work with us to enhance that decision-making process. It's about the budget. I mean, in the end, it comes to how many votes get for and against on town meeting day. The reality is do we have the right plan? Have we funded the things that this community, not in whole, because we'll never get 100% of the people agree that everything we put in there is perfect. But overall, do we have a representative budget that people can live with? That moves us forward, doesn't break the backs of the taxpayers. And that's a challenging thing every year, to find that sweet spot between what can we afford, what do we want, what the taxpayers want, and what do they want to pay. And there are going to be two sides to everything.
At least.
So finding that, and it's a narrow band between the people who want us to do more and are willing to pay for it, and the people who are saying, I can't afford anymore and don't do that. That margin of error is tiny. It's threading a needle to get consensus, at least a majority consensus on it. And I think if you're asking me where are you going to be stressed and strained most for the next 4 or 5 months, it's there. It's absorbing what the town manager is putting in the budget, why he's putting it in the budget. And then once he presents his draft budget to the select board, the 5 members of the select board, there'll be debate there as well too. And the community will certainly be vociferous in their support or their frustration. And you got to take both of those in and try and, again, find the middle ground. So short term, it's that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this point, thank you everybody for coming and listening. You've heard our 3 candidates, you've heard our questions, you've heard their responses. And at this point, I would be looking for a motion.
I'll move that the select board find that premature general public knowledge of the discussion of the interviews for appointing a new member to the select board would place the candidates at a substantial disadvantage.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Richard and a second by Laura. Any discussion? Just hold on, I see a hand in the audience. So the plan would be for us to go into executive session and come out hopefully tonight with a decision. Jamie, do you want to come up and speak to us?
Did you strike community comments?
We already had community comments. What we did earlier, it was under agenda changes and additions. We put them back to the beginning where they normally are. And people had an opportunity to speak to anything that was not on the agenda.
Sorry, that's a glitch in a system that we just caught. So
Yeah.
they should always, we had changed it before, they should always be.
To the town clerks. I came in yesterday and sort of asked about that.
Okay. The only thing I would say, Jamie, we obviously have a meeting on Monday night and.
No, it won't be germane that, so.
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, should we
Okay.
hear comments since it was on the agenda?
Pardon
I
me?
guess it's too late, but since it was posted.
Yeah, we already moved it. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that would be unanimous. I would suggest the board go upstairs to the conference room.
We didn't. I move that the select board enter into executive session under 1 VSA, section 13313A3 to discuss the interviews and possible appointment to fill the current select board vacancy.
So I have a motion. Excuse me, folks. Thank you. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion by Richard, a second by Laura. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Uh,
And that would be unanimous as well.
anyone who doesn't want to hang out because, you know, you might have a life. You can go on to Zoom, so when we come out and see what, because we have to vote outside. All righty?
Okay. It is 7:53, Tuesday, September 30th. I would entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Richard, and a second by George. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be 4-0. I would entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Leah Hollenberger to the select board to fill the current vacancy effective immediately until the next regular town election in accordance with 24 VSA, section 963.
I have a motion by Richard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented to appoint Leah Hollenberger to the Morristown Select Board, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be an aye from the chair. Opposed?
Nay.
That'd be 3-1. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Richard, a second by George to adjourn. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Don.